you for coming here today. And I am here to tell my father's life sketch, and I will do my best to make it to the end without crying. My father was born on April 24, 1947 in Pasig City, Philippines, as the fifth out of 9 children of Balbino and Julita Castro. My dad was humble and hardworking. I heard from others growing up how smart he was and diligent in his studies. He went to Far Eastern University, which is a top university in the Philippines, and graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's degree of science and commerce. He studied hard and even worked during college to complete his education. He passed the CPA exam on his first try, which I heard is not an easy exam. My dad worked for many companies throughout his life. One of the companies was SGV & Co. This is a top accounting firm in the Philippines. You could compare it to one of the big 5 accounting firms in the US. And he made very good friends there, and I was so happy to recently find out that his friends have kept in contact and even visited him during his last days. My dad moved to America and hoped for better opportunities for himself and his family, and when he first moved here, he moved to New York. He told me how he worked at one of the Twin Tower buildings, and he changed his name from Fidel Castro to Joel Castro, which living in New York with other Cubans, you probably could see why. People told him that changing his name would be a good idea. And then when he moved from New York to California, he told me how he drove all the way cross country to get here. And I was impressed when searching through his pictures to find pictures with him and all of his stuff tied on top of his car, and you'll see it in the slideshow coming up. When he moved to California, he worked at a company called Corral. He worked with some relatives of my mom, and that was how my parents met. When my dad was working there as a single man, one of my aunts introduced him to my mother. And my mom was still in the Philippines at this time, but then they became pen pals, writing letters and calling each other until my mom came over here and they dated for a bit, and they decided to get married. My dad was introduced to the Seventh-day Adventist Church by his best friend, Edith June, and my parents were baptized and married at Central Filipino Church before this church was even located in this building. And they continued to be members here, attending church in person and virtually for the remainder of their lives. My parents loved each other so much that they even got married again to renew their vows after 25 years in this church. My parents had 2 kids, me and my brother, Jonathan. He was very active in church as church treasurer, you've already heard, and involved in planning activities with adventures, VBS, Pathfinders. My dad was dedicated to serving God, and he loved making plans. And one of the most memorable church trips I remember was when we all went to provide support to an orphanage in Mexico. And on the way there, we went on a cruise. It was really fun. My dad loved his family very much. He was a pivotal factor in planning family reunions when he went back to the Philippines. And when I went there with him, I could see how so many of my dad's relatives loved him, and how he loved them and he was loved in return. I will always remember my father for his dedication to serving God and his family, for all of his hard work and generosity to others. And I'm very proud of my father and how growing up, I never doubted his love for us, both me and my brother. Thank you everyone for remembering and celebrating his life with us today.